Hi guys, PMQs, the second one for Liz Truss, was a face-palming session, where the Prime Minister seemed to be following in Boris Johnson's footsteps, but instead of dragging up the vaccine rollout, she was regurgitating the energy price cap, which isn't a friggin' price cap. Now, she was asked about rising interest rates, which have priced first-time buyers out of the market, as products have been removed. She was asked about mortgage owners facing, on average, an extra £500 a month in payments, and all she could say was, energy price cap. It got so bad that she started to act like the opposition and began asking Keir Starmer questions as if he was the Prime Minister. I want to show you two clips. Enjoy this.
Mr. Speaker, I'm genuinely unclear about what Labour's...
I think we don't want an early bath at this stage. Rugby World Cup's coming. Don't start it too soon. Just let's hear the questions and certainly the answers, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm genuinely unclear as to what the Labour Party's policy is on our energy price guarantee. It was the biggest part of our mini-budget. Are the opposition saying they want to reverse it and they want to see people facing energy bills of £6,000? Is that what he's saying?
Okay, first of all, it wasn't part of the mini-budget, and second, Keir Starmer is not the Prime Minister. If you don't want to be Prime Minister, then leave, okay? Call a general election, resign, whatever, but you're not supposed to ask Keir Starmer questions. He's not in power. That's why he's not the one to answer the questions. You're supposed to be answering the questions. She doesn't even know how to be a Prime Minister. Anyway, it continues.
Honestly, last week the Prime Minister was forced to U-turn on her unfunded tax cut for the super wealthy. This week, she's beginning to realise that she needs to extend the windfall tax, one step behind the CEO of Shell. But she's still going ahead with £18 billion of tax cuts for the richest businesses, and they didn't even ask for it. She's still gift-wrapped a stamp duty cut for landlords, just as renters feel the pinch. And she's still holding out tax cuts for those who live off stocks and shares. Why does she expect working people to pick up the bill for her unfunded tax cuts for those at the top?
I notice that the Leader of the Opposition is still not saying whether or not he supports our energy price guarantee.
Once again, for people who don't know, PMQs means Prime Minister's questions. Questions for the Prime Minister. Keir Starmer is not the Prime Minister. It's not his job to answer questions. He's there to ask questions, and it's Liz Truss's job to answer questions. Now, I know, and we all know, that Boris Johnson didn't answer questions. He responded to questions. He didn't give any answers. And that's, that's water under the bridge. But Liz Truss doesn't seem to even understand that. She's not actually responding. She's asking questions in return. That's not what you're supposed to do. And of course, the chocolate fireguard, otherwise known as the Speaker of the House, completely silent here. He's supposed to step in and say, no, you're supposed to be asking... Sorry, you're not supposed to be asking the Leader of the Opposition questions. That's his job. He's supposed to ask you questions, not the other way around. If you don't know how that works, then maybe you shouldn't be here.
This is very relevant, Mr. Speaker, because it is the biggest part. It is the biggest part of our mini-budget.
It's not the biggest part of the mini-budget. The price cap thing came in before the mini-budget. What the hell is she talking about?
It's the biggest part of the mini-budget. The fact is that all the opposition...
And you can see the people behind her are like, okay, it's over. We're just spinning our wheels at this stage. She's at the end. She's at the end before she's even begun. This is her second PMQs, and she's speaking as if somebody who's at the end of her reign as Prime Minister. This is crash and burn territory.
opposition have said is that people should be supported for 6 months. Does he think that in March pensioners should be facing very high energy bills? Because that's what will happen if he doesn't support our energy price guarantee.
Mr. Speaker, not even attempting to answer the questions now. I gently remind her that the idea of freezing energy bills was a Labour idea.
Like, he doesn't have to say that, but he came out and he answered the question. Basically answered the question here. And it's not his job to answer questions.
She then took on. During her leadership contest, the Prime Minister said, and I quote her exactly, "I'm very clear. I'm not planning public spending reductions." Is she going to stick to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What we are... Look, Mr. Speaker, we are spending almost £1 trillion of public spending. We were spending 700 billion back in 2010. What we will make sure is that over the medium term, the debt is falling. But we will do that not by cutting public spending, but by making sure we spend public money well. And the honourable gentleman talks about our spending, which he doesn't seem to support, on the energy price guarantee. But the reality is he can't criticise us on one hand for spending money, on the other hand claiming we're cutting public expenditure.
And Liz Truss is finished. Liz Truss is over as Prime Minister. Why am I saying that? Because she's promised not to cut public spending here. Now, she's promised not to raise taxes, so she's left with borrowing. But borrowing, the price of borrowing has gone through the roof. Liz Truss, as Prime Minister, is finished. And you can see, as she was saying this, the faces of her MPs were, oh my God, what the hell is she saying here? She's thrown us under a bus. She's under the bus and she's dragging us under with her. She's committing herself to not cut public expenditure. But she has to do it. And Tory MPs have been coming out in defence of that recently. Yeah, we're going to have to cut public expenditure. The Chancellor is talking about cutting £60 billion, making £60 billion in cuts. Now, I know that what they'll probably try and do here is to say, well, we're actually not cutting, we're just freezing. And because of inflation, it's in real terms, it's a cut. But people are going to see it. You're not going to get away from this. And when MPs are challenged and ministers are challenged, well, the Prime Minister said in the House of Commons that there will be no cuts to public services. Then why are you cutting public services? Because ministers will have to put through policies to cut. Each department has been asked to cut public services. Liz Truss going to the House of Commons and saying the exact opposite here. This is her finished. Because members of Parliament are going to be scratching their heads saying, we have to cut public services. We can't raise more taxes because that's going to damage us as Conservatives. We're not going to borrow more because we can't. It's just too expensive to borrow. So the only alternative is austerity. And she's promising not to impose austerity. This is insane. This is worse than some of the things I've seen Boris Johnson do. And this is Liz Truss's second PMQs. I don't know if you can see, and I don't know if it's a... I don't remember what her name is. There's a man on the left of the screen wearing a tie. Behind him is a woman with her face in her hands. And she's probably going, oh my God, what the hell is she saying? It's over. I don't know how you recover from this. To say in PMQs, I'm not cutting public expenditure, and then going to individual departments and saying, cut public expenditure. You're finished as a Prime Minister, and she's destroying the party by doing this. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thank Thanks a lot.